Good evening and welcome. My name is Michael Pepper of Michael Pepper Tech, and I normally would be live at 8 o'clock. I understand I'm a little bit late, and I appreciate everybody for coming on through and understanding when I'm a little bit late, and dealing with a cranky 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old tonight, and also just wanted to kind of talk about the idea of how we use technology from a multitude of companies and how that works, why some of us choose to use a variety and others choose to stick to one company. So, as a content creator and as somebody who just enjoys different technology, I have a variety of products, a variety of companies in which my technology comes from, whether it's the product itself, software, hardware aspects, and it all varies. And the reason why is because I have different use cases for it, and I just enjoy learning about and covering different technology. And of course, in order to best expand my knowledge on it, hold on just a second. Okay, I apologize for that. I am back. So, hi, Charles. So, for example, I released a video today, and if you haven't seen it, it's kind of discussing about why some people wear an Apple Watch and use an Android device. I use a Galaxy Watch 4, but I also carry a Samsung S22 Ultra and an iPhone 13 Pro, and I have a Z Flip 3 here, and I have a Google Pixel 6. And so if you haven't seen that video, please check that out. And I know that Charles commented that he is on T-Mobile and he carries an iPhone so that he can keep up with iOS. He has an Apple Watch with that, but he really is an Android person primarily and really enjoys that as well. And I'm the same way. My iPhone really is because I have a son, and my parents both are iPhone, iPad, Mac users, and so to be able to FaceTime with them or send them photos it's just simpler in the ecosystem. And instead of trying to get them to download Duo or use Telegram or some other app, I use it for that. That's the tool. But primarily, when I am tweeting and I'm watching YouTube, I'm either on my computer, or I like to grab my iPad, or I like to grab this device. And if I am messing around and multitasking, there are times where I use wireless DeX. There are times where I sit down at my computer and I have my phone paired up and I'm just rocking out with headphones listening to music from my phone or from my computer and on my phone. And we have all these different options of companies. And yes, for me, I would say I'm primarily an iPhone Apple user because I'm using that to create content. It's what I grew up using. It's what a lot of people in my life use. But I also use Android equally, if not sometimes more often, than my Apple products. Primarily, my iMac is an entertainment center for my son and for live streaming. It's, a great desktop. It's simple, it's clean, it's easy to use. I have a Windows PC that I use for different things, sometimes for live streaming. I really want to get more into gaming, but that's a tough route because I'm pretty picky about the styles of games that I enjoy. And so we all have this different options that we choose as for what we carry in our pockets, as for what we use, as for the purpose of it, the tool. You have people that are carrying folds and those type of devices because they want something that's pocketable that can be used like a normal phone, but then they can flip it out and use it with PDF documents or spreadsheets. And with the newest one, you have S Pen support, so signing documents, things like that. Some people use the S22 or the Note or different devices for the same purpose. Or there's people that are using LG devices that have held on to them because they want the headphone jack. And there are people that prefer Surface devices because they really like the clean aspect of it, the performance, the 2-in-1. They want a good pen to be able to draw with, to sign with. There are people that use Android tablets now for the same reason. There are people that use iPads because of the apps that are available, or because of apps that really started out being primarily available on that, and so that's what they got into. And to change over, they don't need to, because everything they're going to do, it doesn't really matter which tablet they have. They're doing tablet things. They're surfing the web. They're watching content. It doesn't really matter as far as like pen experience or even keyboard experience or multitasking. Maybe all they do is split screen. Well, then it doesn't really matter which you choose. It kind of boils down to, well, what phone are you using, and are you going to use any of the shared experience stuff? There are some people that their iPad is their only Apple device because they iMessage and FaceTime with family members, and they carry an Android tablet and a Windows laptop and a Windows desktop, and they also carry an Android tablet. I know people like this. And so these are all our options. And when it comes down to watches, it boils down to what do you like the most? Is battery life the most important? And then step tracking, because there are, devices out there that are just simple that people will get, these Fitbits and Amazfits and different devices that are simple that can last weeks doing that. Are you in the US or not? That's another thing. A lot of what I'm talking about is US stuff, because You go overseas and now you have like the Poco watch that's coming out, and you have Huawei's still got a pretty prominent ecosystem in developing it, and you have Xiaomi, and you have all multitude of options, and it's all about options. And I don't get why people make these comments about, oh, you're using this but you're also using this. It's like, yes, would you go to a carpenter and say, comment about, well, maybe he prefers a certain brand of screwdriver because of the style of handle, but then he uses a different brand of saw or a different brand, hand saw, and a different brand of electrical tools and stuff. It's a tool. Technology is a tool, and we use this for our purposes. And like Tech Love and Mama says, she says, I have an iPad Pro. I like it. I don't use it much, but definitely like having it as an option. It'll help more when I get into creating again. Yes. And even for instance, some people like the way that Apple has memories, and kind of puts this together for you, and people get used to that on their phone or their computer. Some people literally, they started with a phone from a particular company, they had issues, they didn't like it, so they moved to another company, or they really did like it, one or the other, and so they settled on a particular company, and they're like, you know what, I want to get a tablet, so safe bet, they go with the same company that they're used to. And then when it comes to laptops, it's kind of, well, what's important to you? Are you used to using Windows? If you're not, or you don't care to, or you want to learn, there's people that are buying Macs because they like the battery life, or they hear good things, or they want to have something that's portable, that's going to last a while, because it's going to be updates, and so they buy a MacBook Air. There's multitude of choices in why we choose what we choose and do what we do with the devices that are around us. And I have a Sony camera and Samsung phone, a Samsung watch, and Apple products, and Microsoft, providing Windows, and I've been looking at the Duo 2, and maybe when there's some deals on that. I like the idea of the dual screen. I had an LG Velvet, and I liked that. It's just the performance wasn't quite up to what I was hoping at the time, and I ended up trading it in. I liked the Wing. I like those style of devices, but it's simply for the tool and for the purpose that it serves why we choose one device over another, because in reality, most smartphones all do the basic things really well, and it's the unique things that separate them quite often and why we choose one over the other, or an experience we had. Maybe you owned a Samsung phone and had an issue and contacted customer service and they didn't fix it, and it was something that they should have, or you would have to wait, so you went and said, I'm going to go to my carrier, they have an iPhone deal, and you ended up over on an iPhone. Maybe you had an iPhone and you had a problem and you don't have an Apple store or a Best Buy or any place nearby, and you went and said, you know what, I'll just order something. So you ordered something on Amazon, and you ordered let's say a Note 20 Ultra, because it's still a really good device. It's a couple years old. You really wanted a big screen device, and you got a good deal, so you order it, you get it shipped to you, and now that's what you're on. There's all these stories that I hear are very inspiring, educating, and even the people that are using something like T-Mobile Digits, for example, to be able to have one number across multiple devices, multiple watches. Maybe you have an Apple Watch that you carry with an iPhone, and a Samsung watch that you carry with your Samsung phone or other Android device, and you switch back and forth, but you want to have all your messages and your stuff. There's ways to do that. You can have that number linked up, so all your texts come through, and you use the app, and all your calls come through, and you're good to go. And of course, the iPhone side, you kind of lose iMessage, but I mean that's, or you send iMessages when you're on there, but you also just send from your number when you're on the other. And I did that for a number of years where people in my life, I had it so that they had one number that was my iPhone, and when I would switch my SIM card over to my Android device, I always had only ever given out a phone number, so it didn't matter. It was always linked to that, and people that were sending, so they were sending text, that's the way it was. And my parents who would send iMessages, when I was back on my iPhone, I would just send an iMessage and it would send from my email or from my phone number, and everything would link up, or from my email and everything would link up. And so when I switched, I didn't have to worry about, oh, they were sending to a phone number, they were sending to email, and I'd continue to get it on my iPad or my iPhone or my Mac or whatever, and it didn't matter what number. I think that the problem with a lot of the technologies is that, at least in the US, and as far as I know overseas still, a lot of our identity is linked to a phone number. A lot of the way that we communicate, we text, is still linked to a phone number. If it could be linked to some way, like an email address, and then you just sign into an app, Google could do this. It could easily do this. Google Messages exists. This is why I really am excited about the Google I/O event coming up this next week, and that is on the 11th and 12th. They're set to release a Pixel Watch, most likely, and the Pixel 6a. And the exciting aspect of that is hopefully more developers taking Wear OS seriously, and I really would like to see Telegram and a few other apps that were available on Wear OS that aren't now be put back on there and competing again. And I would like to see Google say, you know what, just install our app on your iPhone, and it links up through our servers like Facebook Messenger. And then if you're on if you have an Android device, it's just the normal, and it's all encrypted, and everything's sent via web, just like RCS and messages for web and all that currently is. They could do it. Obviously on your iPhone it wouldn't be native, but they could do it, and they could make it so that it's available as an Apple Watch app, and that stuff syncs up just like Facebook Messenger and Telegram are iPhone, iOS, iPad, Apple Watch, Mac, Windows available. And this is, why it boils down to why some people choose what they choose as well. What syncs up well for them, what provides the smoothest experience for what they do. For some people, they have a business line and they have a personal computer, and they want to be able to get and they have a personal line, and maybe they have a personal line and a business line, and then their work provided a computer, and they want to be able to get their calls from both things on there. So being able to use with the Pixel, being able to do messages for web where you can just sign in on your work computer and have it go through the web is awesome. Now, I don't know how secure and how encrypted that is. As far as I know, currently you lose any end-to-end encryption support, and RCS doesn't support for group messages as it is. Tech Love Mama says, I've had my number for 18 years, almost 19, my husband too. Yeah, I've had my current number for quite some time now. I think since we switched to T-Mobile, I might have, yeah. Well, you can use Facebook Messenger as your main SMS app. I wonder if it links to Facebook Messenger when signed into the same account. It doesn't. It basically acts so that you don't have to have a separate SMS app. You're just granting permission for it to basically grab that. So, from what I understand, the reason you're allowed to do that is that your messages come into the device, and whatever app you're using that you granted permission just is going to grab that data and bring it in and convert it and read it. That's why for a bit there were some issues with some apps where your emojis and things like that wouldn't show right if it wasn't understanding the right code for it. And they've improved upon that. They've expanded upon it. But what I don't get is why there isn't a reason they could say to users, hey, this is what, especially Google being Google. I mean, you sign into your Gmail and everything runs through. They used to have Hangouts, and there was, Google Plus, and your YouTube stuff all syncs, and they have end-to-end, like, they have encryption stuff. They have two-factor authentication. They provide servers for companies that have end-to-end encryption, that have cloud stuff. Amazon does as well, but Google has their cloud share service that they provide. They have all the infrastructure, the technology, the AR, the software awareness and know-how to do this. Yet they don't, and then they want Apple, and then people want Apple to do it, and like Apple uses other companies for their servers. Apple hosts a lot of their own stuff, but they also only have certain access, and they don't want to risk it. Android already is kind of, Google could say, you know what, you need to be on a certain version of Android, and we're going to support this, and we're going to start in certain areas because they know the devices that are sold there, and they can push it. And then it would be up to manufacturers to make sure that it runs well. And if they don't, then it just doesn't work. And that would push companies to do it. Samsung has already integrated the messages for web and RCS functionality into their native app now. And I think all carriers now support that, but it's kind of iffy. And I just really, really wish that Google would stop killing off projects. As Bradley says, Hangouts was one of the best apps Google ever made. Don't know what went wrong along the way. I think it was just people weren't using it enough and the way they were implementing it. One of the things that I wish is that, and they're talking about it, and I guess they're doing this in their business aspect of things, but how you could use it to invite people to YouTube streams, and now I guess with Google Suite they're going to have a way to do that, and now they have a way that you can send somebody from your live stream to, like, if somebody's streaming after you can directly send them to that stream or Premiere or whatever, like a live event, you can directly send them over. So for example, I know that Easy Computer Solutions is having, his stream is in 10 minutes, and I believe it's also birthday celebration. And with this update, I would be able to just basically say, oh, hey, you're watching me, click on this link and go over there. They're starting to implement some of this stuff back into it, and it's pretty exciting to see that they're doing that. But the problem is they also have all these different versions. And then there was Allo, or however you want to pronounce it, ALLO. And now they've basically implemented all that stuff into Duo, where you have the ability to video chat, but then there's audio chat in there, and there's all sorts of options. And, it's kind of crazy to me that this is, all there. And Google just kills it off when it's good. And I've never really understood that. And, you know, give us the choice. I think it would be easier for them to do that than for Apple to try, like, them to make something that's available on Android available on iOS, rather than expecting Apple to develop their software and adapt it to work well on the multitude of Android devices. If it's already implemented, if it's already developed substantially well enough that people are using it, to then go and be like, oh, we need to work on basically the 4 different variables of iPhones that are out. As far as like screen sizes, there's not a ton of difference. As far as like the iOS is iOS, and they could just make it work. And it would be super simple, but for Apple to be like, oh, we're going to push this and we don't know, we're, in order for it to reach a number of people, it's going to have to work on Android like 4 and up, because Google doesn't force app developers to update anything. There are apps that literally go back to Android 4.0 is the oldest you can have, and it will still work. And as far as I know, the oldest functioning out there is Android 7 on people's devices, and higher and higher percentage are getting to newer stuff, but it's interesting. Oh yeah, they also separated Google Hangouts to chat and meeting. Yeah, they separated things and then they merged it into something else with a new name, and then people think it's gone, or they've moved on to something else, or they get confused. And Microsoft has done the same thing, because you have like Teams and you have Skype, which basically, that's the more commercial versus private aspect of this, but it's kind of interesting to me how that works. And I guess this is just kind of my thoughts on things as far as like using and having options and easily using multitude of devices, because I think for the people that use products from different companies, they're using the Google suite of devices, Gmail, Docs, Spreadsheet, and they're using and Calendar and Contacts and stuff, or Microsoft, their suite is available. But if you want somebody to have something that's free, that they get access to cloud storage, they are able to do shared products, they are able to sign in on an iPhone, an iPad, an Android device, a Windows device, a Linux device, Raspberry Pi, in the cloud, some handheld devices and gaming devices that have a browser and be able to access it. Technically, you can sign in on iCloud and do that, but Google's suite of things is great. Bradley says, I think Google is too big with so many divisions. They have to try to prioritize certain things, and other stuff gets lost in the chaos. I agree. But I also feel like communication being extremely important, and how they've really prioritized updating the Gmail, like even like the Gmail app is constantly getting updates on iOS and stuff, and like YouTube app. The stuff that gets the most attention and the most search and the most use is updated in like the Google search app. So if they really wanted information and they want to understand how people communicate, and they want to know like what devices people are using, if they had an end-to-end encryption method, yeah, they aren't getting your information because it's encrypted and it goes to their servers, but they would be able to kind of see the types of devices that it's coming from. I would think, and they would be able to understand. And then some, even if it's end-to-end encrypted, there would be certain things that just by virtue of how the system's set up with, for example, if you share something, uh, like with a link, if it's already up in your account, there's no downloading it to your device, and there's no like or uploading it from your device. It's already there. You share it to somebody, and all they do is click on the link and they get it. If Google implemented a way that where with text and a preview, and automatically when you text an image to somebody, if it's in your cloud, it send it that way as opposed to having to upload it and having to worry about bandwidth and then downloading it. That would be brilliant, and they could do that. Apple has done that with some iPhoto stuff. I've noticed, like, if I send a picture to my dad and then I send it to my mom, it might take a little bit longer to go to my dad, and then it goes right to my mom. And whether it's in my Photos app or on my device, that after the first person, it's kind of like, oh, we're already pushed it up through the servers, and we'll just ping it out to somebody else. And there's all this stuff that can happen, and Google's AI is smart enough. And some of the stuff that they're doing, as far as like, even if you're at an event and it'll be like, oh, we saw that such and such was at the same location. Some of the stuff that they've talked about doing and implementing, and I don't know if they have or not, as far as that, and even like the idea of like auto sharing, and as long as there's not like a kid in it, but like, oh, you were at the event, let's share, you've taken a picture of a building, let's share that to other people. Some of the stuff that they've talked about doing, and some of the AI stuff, would be a huge advantage, and having that not just on their own devices, but on every other device. They already benefit from doing that with search, and they already benefit from doing that with YouTube and Google and Studio and Photos and all their other software that they benefit from having people use across the vastness of operating systems. Communication would be a huge step. Google Fi, they need to advertise this more, but if you have Google Fi, all you have to do is sign in on another device, and you can get your messages to sync up. So if you have a Pixel on Google Fi, and then you had a Samsung tablet that's a cellular model, and you add it to your account, or all you do is sign in and it syncs through with the same number, or you have a personal phone and then maybe a work number on a separate phone for some reason, you can have you have to do is sign in and stuff syncs up. They're doing this already. All they need to do is open the API up and allow other people to have access to that. I see that it is going on 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that Easy Computer Solutions live stream. Eric's live stream should be starting soon here. I will see you all over there. I would like to say thank you to Bradley, Tech Love and Mama, Shark Fin Tech, Charles Monroe, and anybody else who came on through for the live, for coming on through and just joining the conversation. If you're part of the live team, just let me know. Comment, hashtag I was here live in the chat, and also put that in the comment afterwards. And if you're part of the replay crew, hashtag replay crew was here too. And I will see you all in the next week, and thanks for watching. Peace out. Have a good night, everybody.